Dude, it's just kind of hard to take Elon seriously at this point. It's not like I have in a long time, but it's just the decisions he's making now have to be like for personal entertainment. Hey fellas, and welcome back to Quite with a Y. I'm back from VidCon, that's why there were no uploads for a week. And if there's another gap week of uploads, that doesn't mean I'm away, I might just be lazy. Now, if you guys use Twitter instead of just going to any of my channels to find out what's being said there without having to make an account, you might have seen that Elon said that he was limiting the amount of tweets users could see a day. He tweeted, "To address extreme levels of quote-unquote data scraping and system manipulation, we've applied the following temporary limits." What he's talking about here is rate limits, where back in the day, if you as a Twitter user individually had looked at too many tweets, you would potentially get a notification from Twitter saying, "Rate limit exceeded, please try again later," which basically meant that you had seen too many tweets in one short period of time, that you were taking up more than your allotted space of Twitter server bandwidth, and you were being forced to not use it for a bit. Basically, Elon's rules are, if you are an unverified account, you only get to see 600 posts a day. If you are verified, you get to see 6,000 posts a day. And if you're unverified, you only get to see 300. Now, this might sound like a lot, but consider how many tweets you scroll by a day without even reading them. Those count. At least I'm fairly sure. But even the paid for verified number, 6,000, is relatively low considering that you're fucking charging for this, man. For $8 of Twitter Blue, how many hours of content are you getting a day versus like $8 a month towards YouTube Premium or literally any other streaming service? I couldn't begin to tell you the thought process behind this because I don't think it's discernible to folks like me. See, Elon might be at the point of being a billionaire where money truly is no object, so he's just tanking this thing as a bit. He did say that rate limits would increase soon to 8,000 for verified, 800 for unverified, and 400 for new unverified, but it's barely anything in the grand scheme. He said these were temporary, but if I had to guess from my perspective why he'd do something like this, it's because maybe the server costs are getting up there, and with Twitter ad revenue being way down, it's not even like breaking close to even like it might have been in the past. Up till now, all the changes that Elon made to the site I found to be an inconvenience for the user, or just like, it was at least like an added feature, something that was trying to enhance the experience, or at least trick me into using the site more. Like, the For You page on Twitter has actively brought me more misery than positive emotions, but it has objectively succeeded at getting me to use the site more. I remember I used Facebook a decent amount because I needed it for like school clubs and groups when I was a teenager, but as I got into the cycle of browsing my actual feed, I just realized it was an endless abyss from which no love would escape, and I was just not enjoying myself at all. Everything I was consuming made me want to consume more, but not because I was enjoying it, only because I was engaged. Being able to see the view count and amount of bookmarks on a tweet were new and maybe a little annoying at first, but over time you get used to them, then they have some utility. For this change, to cover this video, I had to go onto one of my 7,000 alt accounts just to be able to screenshot Elon's tweet because I had gotten rate limited from just browsing normally on my main. Sure, it's a feature and event that a lot of people are talking about, but it's not even at the most amount of people that could be talking about it because half the folks mad about being rate limited are too rate limited to see what's being talked about. Jack, the former CEO of Twitter before Elon bought it, tweeted out just a picture of grass that Elon retweeted. I infinitely prefer Jack as a CEO as much as the old Twitter could get on my nerves. It was never on this level, but still, he's like fucking mega rich and probably doesn't give much of a fuck about any of us, and he left to go do some crypto shit, so no love lost here. But him tweeting this in what I don't know if it was meant to be supportive of Elon or not is real rich because, dog, you implemented the systems that made this kind of thing need to happen. You literally laid the foundations for people to get sucked into Twitter as much as they are, and now you're telling them, stop using the app because you're not like beholden to the shareholders anymore. It just doesn't seem Elon's too concerned with any of what's being talked about because, I mean, it's not like he was making a profit off the site anyways, and I really do wonder if he's just trying to tank it, A, as like a last hurrah and to enjoy himself, or if it's genuinely some financial reason where he's trying to like just drive down the price so he can sell it at a reasonable thing and get it off his hands instead of consistently taking the losses and eating them. I won't pretend to be like a billionaire who recklessly bought a social media site that I knew to be unprofitable and signed a contract even when I only intended it as a joke and then was forced to go through it legally because I'd already committed to the purchase on paper without fully realizing what I was committing to. But didn't he say something about hiring a new CEO soon? Like, what the fuck happened to that? I thought the idea would have been like, okay, she takes over so the heat's off my back and I'll probably just kind of try and coast until I'm off the hook. But then he's making like big ass changes like this and shit, man. I bet he could have made these rate limit changes and people would have just assumed Twitter was fucking up for a little bit. Announcing they were intentional changes is probably a large part of what's garnered this attention to begin with. This is one of those videos I'm doing off the cuff with nothing but screenshots and no notes to talk about, but it would be really funny if this was actually a back-end Twitter side fuck up because apparently downsizing the operation from 8,000 to 500 makes it a lot harder to manage. Total speculation, good chance it's not true, but it would be very funny if the cracks are just now showing the foundation where those extra few thousand employees were helping patch up and are now like becoming unmanageable. And Elon's like, wait, I can use this. I'm limiting your tweets on purpose. I doubt that for the most part because he did tie the most amount of tweets you could look at to the paid subscription, so it's probably true, but I like to fantasize about things. And if it was fake, I don't think he needed to do all that to announce this kind of thing because there are people who have bought Twitter Blue still sucking his dick over this kind of thing. Like, sure, there's the occasional verified dude who will, like, tweet Elon one of his polls where he said that he would step down if he was told to by the Twitter poll. That was almost a year ago, and it just hasn't happened, and we've gotten rumors of a new CEO who hasn't like yet been officially inducted. But then you also have these fucking suckers who are like, I'll buy Twitter Blue for one person who likes this reply. If you like my tweet, I will enable you to use this site in a worse way than you were just yesterday, but it's a fucking steal. A lot of people agree that this is destroying Twitter, and some are even tying it to like what's been happening with Teslas recently, how they're kind of falling apart. But I think people are jumping a little too quickly saying RIP Twitter, because something being destroyed does not mean that it'll be dead anytime soon. You'd be surprised how many fucking bullet wounds you can take without bleeding out. You can have like 30 wounds gushing out you and keep walking. I think it's fair to say Elon has been destroying Twitter the entire time, has been in charge of it, maybe with the intention of rebuilding, but he's gutted it objectively, both feature-wise and when it comes to the original team. Like, it's a very, very light operation compared to what it was pre-purchase. But erosion and avalanches do not happen over the course of like a day. They happen over lots of weathering doing its work on rock over thousands and thousands of years. This is actually a relatively fast timescale if we want to stick with that metaphor. Considering Elon's now charging for access to Twitter's API, I can't really get the exact numbers, or if I can, I just really don't fucking care enough to, only to make a pooey little YouTube video about this whole thing. And I don't know if Twitter has been getting any amount of new users at all, or at least enough to like meet replacement numbers. More and more features are getting locked behind the paid service. He's completely gutted the verified system, which was actually useful in telling if something was from a real person or not. It's been overcomplicated with like yellow check marks for brands and gray check marks for politicians. It's just really convoluted now. It's becoming more and more hostile to advertisers, at least from the advertiser's point of view. The site's being overrun by bots despite Elon saying he wants to get rid of them. I personally think the rate limit shit will only make that worse, because a normal Twitter user is probably not going to subscribe to Twitter Blue so they can get more of the same schlock they've finally gotten a wake-up call to get out of. But bot accounts can apparently skip the non-verified new user lower limit of 300 by just buying Twitter Blue and continuing to spam with whatever they feel like. For me, rate limiting almost comes off like those TikToks you'll get after browsing for an hour too long, where they'll say, hey, you've been scrolling for a while, it's really important to take a break, and then you audibly say, shut the fuck up and keep going. That's what I do, at least. I saw the guy who got hired to do a bunch of those walking around the hotel at VidCon, and it was like getting to meet a celebrity from a distance. Rate limiting is like that to me, except unintentional, a lot more disruptive, and you can't choose to just ignore it, so you just have to go somewhere else or make a different account, and it breaks your cycle. I have a bad habit of, like, when I'm bored and opening a new tab, going to Twitter by instinct before realizing, oh fuck, I should not look at this site and immediately closing it. Now I don't even have it as an option. Like, I have to leave. I can't even get sucked down this rabbit hole that I don't want to be in anymore. I have to go find a different rabbit hole. Depending on how long this rate limit thing lasts, if it even is temporary, I have plenty of time to develop some new habits when I'm bored and a new site to instinctively go to than Twitter. And that's another reason I could see this being intentional for Elon. Like, maybe he doesn't want Twitter to be as big as it is anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if he really is trying to make this just a paid-for service that is a lot smaller in scale, so it has a lot less upkeep. And sure, maybe it'll bring less overall money in over time, but maybe with the lower load and everybody who's using it now being a paid user, maybe his hope is that, yeah, it'll be a lot smaller culturally, but it'll make like a consistent profit month over month. I don't know. I feel like that's a waste. Like, certainly it's better to own the platform where culture is made than to own a really niche thing that nobody fucking cares about if what you really care about is influence. To me, it's like the same reason that Google props up YouTube even though it's not directly profitable. It's the second most viewed site in the world, and culture is made on that fucking thing. It's exactly why, to me, Amazon not propping up Twitch in that same way, you know, kind of like funneling money into it to make up for where it doesn't make money itself so that it stays on top, is a waste on its own. It's a real rambly video. I didn't go in with any notes, but that's when I know it's something I want to talk talk about. If y'all enjoyed, let me know if I missed anything, got anything wrong. God knows I probably did, because fuck, I didn't research this very much. It's just me screaming at the top of my lungs. If you want to send me any topics to talk about, hit that kwytebox@gmail.com. Anyways, yeah, piss off.